I think runners always want this like perfect progression curve. And so you either get into running or you've been doing it a while, or like me, you've been doing it way too long. And you kind of want your journey to be this like up and up and up and up. And sometimes that is, the way it works out. I think from 2016 to 2020, I had this really nice sort of progression curve, you could say. And you've gone from, I think it was 222 in the marathon, 221, and then you go all the way to, 209. It's this lovely 4 years of boom, 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 quicker, quicker, quicker. And in that sort of phase, you can just think that running's like, almost like simple, majestic. I don't know why people find this difficult. And that's that period of time. And then there's other times that you learn things are going to pop up that start to hold you back. And today's all about what do you do in those sort of periods of time? What do you do if a race kind of goes backwards? What do you do if you can't really handle the training that you used to be able to and you're not really sure why? The way I look at it is between each of these races from 2016, let's say, to 2020, I used to finish a race. I used to then look at what created that race result, what created that big day, that big special day. And then I would sort of look at, that created that result. What would I need to do differently, more of the same, etc., to run faster? And for quite a lengthy period of time, there's 4 years, it became pretty easy to, add in more altitude training, add in more mileage, start doing some gym. It became, the routine that after each big race, I would add in sort of something new, a new stimulus, focus on my recovery more, improve my nutrition, lose a pound or two of weight, pick a faster course, maybe get better weather conditions. And all of a sudden, the progression continued. But then often the body or the psychology, physically, psychologically, something can often not necessarily go wrong. It's just nature. It's being human. Human things get in the way, and suddenly you're in more of a rough patch. So then you've got my, let's say, 2020 to 2022, where that progression was not lovely. I think the word linear was not gorgeous, was not up and up and up. Suddenly you've taken a step back. Normally what defines you as the athlete or the athlete you're going to become is handling that as best you can, figuring out what's going on. And then the most important thing that we're going to look at today is having a plan to get yourself back on track. So I'm in Flagstaff, Arizona. I've, just came off the London build-up where I struggled. It may become super obvious why I struggled because I'm kind of still struggling. I talked this entire build-up about, body being a mess. And I'll explore a little bit more about that in a second. But basically, how do I take what's going on now? Where it might be super obvious is I've just been told I actually have 2 teeth infections, not 1. So I've just finished the sort of course of antibiotics. I'm due to have both teeth extracted because there is that much sort of infection going on. It sounds utter disgusting, but it just is what it is. I have sort of so much going on that I need both teeth extracted, and then later in life or at some point I'm going to have to get implants. I keep joking that I'm going to look like Jack Sparrow out of Pirates of the Caribbean, but it is what it is. That might be why your teeth, head, skull, nervous system, it all starts at the top and then it runs down. When I've been talking about hamstring cramping, glute cramping, hip problems, it could be the nerve chain having problems. It could be that due to the 2 teeth infections, I've been pushing my body too hard, and so it's a bit broken down. Today's video is less about my teeth infection and more about I've been talking about being in a bit of a mess, in a bit of a rut. I'm going to predict that 80 to 90% of the people watching this, whether they like it or not, body and maybe the psychology, is in a bit of a hot mess. We ask a lot of our bodies, whether it's sitting at work, whether it's your house chores, whether it's all the training you've done, your recent marathon build-ups, or race day itself. The harder you race on race day, the more you take out of your body, the more you extract from your body. The better your training build-up, the more you can extract from your body on race day. There's a cost. The cost is that your body might decide, you kind of pushed me pretty far that race day. You kind of pushed me pretty far, throughout that training build up. I'm kind of pissed off doing these long runs and then doing housework all day. The body can get into a bit of a hot mess. That means that if you picture yourself as a kid and you're sitting down in this sort of like squat position and you're just chilling and it's easy and your hips aren't sore and your back's not sore, yeah, that's a wonderful time. I can't do that anymore. I can't sit in that sort of squat position or whatever it's called. Yeah, everything in my body would hurt. So when I talk about being a big hot mess, I'm sort of looking at, I want to get a really good race result out of my body. I want to run 2:08 for the marathon. But how can I expect my body to do that when I can't even touch my toes? And I used to be able to touch my toes. How can I expect my body to do that when I do like an easy threshold session and when I wake up the next day, I'm in pain? Maybe it's nerve pain, maybe it's tendinopathy of the hamstring, maybe it's a sore tooth. This is what I'm talking about. The big hot mess might not even be linked to how the actual sessions are going. It might just be that when I go to the track and I'm looking around and I'm surrounded by so many amazing athletes, world-class athletes, I'm looking at the ones that don't really have anything to complain about. They show up, they do their training, in the warm-up, nothing's really hurting. When they're finished, they're not sort of needing treatment. If they're getting massage, it's just for recovery. They're eating really well, they're sleeping really well, etc. When you have athletes that are looking really good on the track during the session, but you know that they have a few things going on, it might be physical, it could be psychological, race day exposes all of that. So in order to produce something on race day, you need some of these hot messes to calm down. Planning. How I got these great results from 2016 to 2020 was likely because I had actually taken a chunk of time off. I took 18 months out of the sport. I did web design. I sort of built a business for myself. I enjoyed life a little bit. That allowed my tendons, ligaments, joints, everything to calm down. Then I sort of built this 3 years of a lovely forward momentum. After each marathon, maybe I ran 80 miles a week and maybe I did 6 weeks at altitude. In the next build up, I did 8 weeks of altitude and 90 miles a week. It was an easy system. Now what you have to do is realize, how long's it been since you've sort of done a bit of a detox? What normally happens is you get in this sort of negative loop cycle. You have a race result, it maybe doesn't go the way you want it, you get frustrated, you dive back into training. Maybe the race didn't go the way you wanted because your body just needs a little bit of time off. The planning of time off, what you actually do during time off, isn't just rest. You can actually fix things a little bit, get your core stability in a better place, do some really basic stuff in the gym, do some yoga. You're trying to get your chassis, right? You're trying to get this Formula One vehicle of yours in a better place. I've been doing yoga once a day now. I've done it for 2 days, if I'm being really honest. I am awful. Like, I've always been awful at yoga. I'm way worse than I've ever been. My body is a mess. Bless it. I'm not going to go run 2:08 for a marathon. I'm not going to achieve this optimum race result until I get things in a better direction. I pray to God that when I get both these teeth out and all the infection stuff goes away and the antibiotics have sort of worked their course, that I start to feel a little bit better. But getting 2 teeth out isn't going to suddenly make, my back not stiff, my hips not stiff, my hamstrings not stiff, etc. And so the plan, you could say, is a little bit less intensity in training, right? You don't need to be doing big marathon-y sessions all the time. You don't need to be doing the hard long runs all the time. So you I haven't put it on the website yet, merchandise, but I'm going to soon. I just did a t-shirt that was, Lion Skull Running Club. And on the other side, it just says joy of running. Just the effing joy of running. You can go for runs just to enjoy running, for the psychology. During this rebuild period, and it only has to be probably for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe 10 weeks, you're just rebuilding. In terms of the actual fitness, you're not trying to gain loads of fitness, but you're protecting what you have. So you're doing enough training to protect the fitness that you have. You can do some easier threshold stuff. For once you could actually hit the splits the threshold's supposed to be. And then what you want to do is you want to double down on the recovery stuff. Maybe it's the Epsom salts. I actually just went and bought cod liver oil and glucosamine sulfate, things that get joint and body feeling a bit better, maybe even from a supplements perspective. Then what you could do is you could get your nutrition in a good place, that what you're eating reduces inflammation in the body. And you're trying to sleep really good, or as much as you can, I'm sure, with family life, and you're just trying to get the body in a slightly nicer position. So that maybe one of these days when you wake up in the morning, you walk out of bed, you're not sore. Something's not sore from the day's training before. Running's not supposed to be like that. When I've got my best race results, I've been able to do a pretty hard session, and it's actually what happens that next day tells you where the body and the fitness is at. If you can wake up that next day and you're not a complete mess and you're not super sore, and you're actually feeling pretty chipper, pretty good, well then the fitness is probably in a pretty good place and the body is in a pretty good place. When your body's in a hot mess, as I've been calling it, you can get through a session, but then you'll be sore the next day. Sessions will never be as difficult as races. And so if you can't get through the sessions without being super sore, you have next to no chance of getting through a really good race. The good news is this isn't your fault. After that sort of 4-year lovely period that I had, I got into getting some treatment. The reason I started going for some treatment, not psychological treatment, but actual physical therapy, was because when I was out training, I could just tell I wasn't moving the way I used to move. I wasn't as free as I used to be. It's almost like, picture it as loads of bricks around your body or cement. And after each build up and after each really hard marathon, or after each day that you push a little bit harder than you should have and you thought you got away with it, you built a layer of cement. I'm out there doing tempos and this layer of cement is holding me back. You need to break that open. Good nutrition, good recovery, go a bit easier in the runs, do probably half as much yoga as you are running. In the gym, don't load in the gym. Don't be doing those thrusts and squats. Just nice and basic body weight exercises. Get back to just building some strength, some stability, some balance. And hopefully I've been showing you throughout this what I've been doing with the yoga and the gym stuff. And you're in this sort of like detox. And when you come out of this detox and this cleanse, then you can handle the training that's going to build that big bloody race result that you want. That's where we're at. I need to get 2 bloody teeth out. I'm still in Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm doing as much training as I can do while on antibiotics and while still with 2 infections in my mouth. That means that I have to train quite lightly. And basically what happens is, even when I do a little threshold session, I wake up the next day, I'm sore, I'm achy, my heart rate variability, it's floored. It's taken more out of me than it normally would. The likes of a little threshold is probably taking the same out of me as what a really hard VO2 max used to, because my body's fighting. But it'll all settle itself down. You're doing your best to maintain what you had without killing the body during that recovery process. Really think hard on where's your body at. Really think hard on how long's it been since you've went through a wee detox where you put the big race goals, put them to one side for a little bit and say, I'm going to really look after my body for these next 6 to 8 weeks. My main focus is going to get back to moving really good, have a look at my form, where's it at, and then I'm going to be ready to build towards my next big race. Instead of jumping straight back in, head over heels, and maybe your body's not ready for it yet. You can check out the running school, way more stuff on recovery, psychology, all that good stuff, strength on the running school. And also you can look at some of the merch on joggingclo.com and be good to your bloody body, where I chip on a lot about being good to the psychology, but look after the physical too. We've only got one. And maybe the next time I do a video, I might be missing a few teeth. But, take care.